Welcome back, gang. It's your boy P5, aka P Don't Stop the Music. You know what it is. Today is another episode of, or should I say the first episode of A to Z of Africa. The first letter in our A to Z of Africa is A. And A today stands for Africanism.
See, we need one good government. A straight and progressive, clean government that knows what it's doing. No diplomacy, no compromises, no agreement, no Marxism, Leninism, no capitalism, Africanism.
What you just listened to was a quote from Fela. Some of you may or may not know who Fela is. Fela is a Nigerian musician, saxophonist, multi-instrumentalist. He was, I guess you could say he was a freedom fighter. He was a freedom fighter in his music because he was always pointing fingers at the injustices that were being done to people across the world, but more importantly, people in Nigeria, which is where he's from. Which was where he was from. First and foremost, he was a musician. That was the talent that God gave him. But at the same time, he was also I guess you would say he was a revolutionary. You know, he was influenced by a lot of readings from Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey, so on and so forth. And that was a quote from him. And he was basically saying, you know, we should be doing away with all these, you know, Western ideas, and what we really need is one good leader who can have the hearts and voices of Africa. I guess he was mainly talking about Nigeria, but Africa as a whole, have their hearts at the forefront of their mind, and you know, do away with Marxism and Leninism, you know, the Russian kind of societal structures. I believe Lenin was definitely Russian. Marx, I feel, I might be wrong. But yeah, those societal structures and bring forth Africanism. If you look at the dictionary definition of Africanism, it's a feature of language or culture which is regarded as characteristically African. So I guess by that, you know, the way people speak, or maybe the way people dance, or it might be, you know, the inflection of tone, it might be the music, you know, drums, it might be religion, it might be food, it might be all of these things encompassed. So that's one definition of Africanism. The other definition in the dictionary is that the belief that black Africans and their culture should predominate Africa. So meaning that the cultures of Africa is what should rule and lead Africa rather than Western society and their methods and rules. So I guess that's what I kind of want to talk about today. In a sense, it goes back to the introduction, and I said Africa for Africa, Africa for Africans. And what I mean by this is that really we need to start looking at what is Africanism, what are our cultures, what are our beliefs, and what is it that along the way that we have lost that has led us to the point where we are now. Because I think that we're at a point where, of course, there are people that uphold traditions, right? You know, you have your places in certain villages or certain towns that you uphold tradition. But as a whole, Africa is quite westernized in the sense that, you know, for example, if you look at the religion, you know, a lot of Africa is very Christian, and Christian is a Western religion. So already, that being the predominant sort of overarching force of belief in Africa, I believe that already leads to a problem, because obviously Christianity doesn't have our best interests at heart. And when I say have our best interests at heart, I mean for Africa. Now, I grew up Christian. My father's side is Christian, my mother's side is Muslim. You know, me and my sister, we used to go to church a lot in Nigeria, off our own backs, you know, but off our own volition. No one forced us. We kind of went all over. We went Baptist, we went Methodist, we went Sele. Sele is like White Robe Church. We went Caribbean and Seraphim, which was also White Robe Church. We went to a bunch of these things, again, by ourselves. Like, we was 9, 10, 11, 12, you know, we just used to go church because that was really our thing. The reason I mention this is because it's such a big thing in Africa. I mean, let me just speak for Nigeria, but I know as a whole of Africa, it's such a big thing. And for some reason, now as I'm older, it kind of doesn't sit right with me, because if you look at Christianism, sorry, not Christianism. If you look at Christianity, when it was brought to Africa, it was brought as a means of servitude, or no, is as a means of keeping us down. Sorry, my English is forsaking me today. It was brought as a means of us keeping us down. So here's this wondrous white Jesus with blonde hair and blue eyes, and here you are, black toned, beautiful skin. But by the way, we're bringing you this God, and this is the representation of our God. This is what our God's Son looks like, and you are inferior to that. So therefore, you're inferior to white skin. Now, there's plenty of people who will say, oh no, surely, you know, like my sister's a Christian, and you know, I have friends who are Christian, so it's not a thing of, oh, I'm bashing Christianity. That's not what it's about. It's about, we're talking about Africa now. So we can't talk about Africa without talking about Christianity, and you can't talk about Africanism without talking about Christianity, because what happened to Africanism was that it was I don't want to say surpassed, but it was what's the word I'm looking for, replaced. Let's say it was replaced. Africanism was replaced by Christianity. Before Christianity came to Nigeria, for example, you'd pray to your god Shango, you pray to Oludumare. I think Oludumare is a god, although we use it as a colloquial term for God in above. I think it's actually a separate god before, you know, Christianity took over. I'll double check that. But you used to pray to, you'd have your gods that you pray to. Then Christianity came and they said, no, all of that is the devil's work. What you need to be doing is praying to this God here, and here's our representation. And again, for me, I have an issue with that now that I'm older, you know, because the two go hand in hand. And you might think, oh, but Christianity is just a religion. It's just bringing the truth to the people. Okay, so that's cool, but our people already had our own truth. So you might say, oh, well, those truths were savage truth. A lot of people would say that now that are Christians, oh, they're demonic. But that whole narrative is due to the suppression of Africanism in African countries and replacing it with a new structure. So now, hundreds of years down the line, what happens? We, the descendants, go, oh no, anything that isn't Christianity, I'm dwelling on the Christianity part because again, I grew up as a Christian. Anything that isn't that is witchcraft, or it's evil, or it's voodoo. Now we all know voodoo is a religion, not black magic, or, you know, voodoo is a religion, and it's a composite of I think not many religions, but it's a composite of definitely the Yoruba religions from Nigeria, and I'm not sure what else. But again, it has its bases in Africanism, African culture, African rites, African techniques and practices. And going back to Fela's point, I think the removal of all these and the supplanting with a new culture made us feel like we were inferior. Now, not as a total, but subconsciously and continuously, it's made us feel that we're inferior. And this can be played, you can see this played out in the you know, proliferation of skin bleaching in Africa, for example, you know, and across the world where you have black people. Again, your dark skin's not as pretty, so therefore here's bleach skin. Your nappy hair's not as good, so here's some relaxer. Oh, you've got good hair. Not really an Africanism, that's more a Westernism. Oh, you've got good hair, straight, it's easy to manage, and so on and so forth. All hair is easy to manage if you look after it the right way, as far as I'm concerned. So, you know, we've been spoon-fed and drip-fed these things until they literally just thrown at us. It was a little drip, drip, drip. Actually, it might not have even been a drip. I stand corrected there. It was probably force-fed, because obviously people came over and forced our people into certain things. So we were probably force-fed these narratives, and then over time we were drip-fed these narratives via media, advertising, the lack of representation on TV, and so on. So what Fela said was really important, because he started it off with, what we need is one good leader. And he said, not a democracy per se, because, you know, democracy, everybody has a voice. We all have a voice. Me, I have a voice. This person has a voice. That person has a voice. 10 different voices. We don't get anything done. We don't get anything achieved. Whereas if you have someone who, this is my voice, but my voice is not my voice alone. My voice is the voice of the people. Now, let me make this clear. The voice of the people is not necessarily what the people are saying, you know. Generally it is, but sometimes what the people are saying, they don't know. They don't know what's good for them. You know, they will say, oh, no, but Baba, he's been there since. Our district, he comes round every Christmas and drops off rice and maybe 1 chicken or 2 chickens for the people. No, Baba, he does good. We've elected him, yes. Okay, that's the voice of you guys that are there, that are local, they give you 2 rice, they give you this, they give you that, you're placated, everything's gravy. But really it's not. So when I say the voice of the people, it's not necessarily the voice of the people. Sometimes the people are not speaking because they don't know what to say. It's like, we elected this one, he didn't work, or we elected this one, he was bad, or we did this one, we don't know. So what I believe Fela is saying is, you need someone who really has the heart and the voice of the people at the forefront of their mind, so that when he goes forward, that is everything, that dictates everything he or she says. Everything he or she says is dictated by my fellow Nigerians, my fellow Africans. This is what will make our lives better, greater, if not today or 20 years, if not 20 years, 30 years. But the roadmap that I'm laying down is what's going to help us in the future. Sometimes democracy is not always the answer. So I hear you lot asking, so is a dictatorship a better option? I wouldn't go down the route of a dictatorship. Maybe by definition what I'm describing might be a dictatorship. However, normally you look at dictatorships and look at them on the negative slant, whereas I'm thinking of it on the positive slant. Okay, it's a dictatorship as in this is what I'm telling you to do, but it's actually for the betterment of us as a people, rather than, oh, I'm wielding my power and I'm getting high on power. King's disease, like Nas said. You know, high on power, you're getting gout and there's uric acid, I think he said, you know, building up. That's not what it's about. It's about for my people, for my people. Now, what can they do for you? Here, have this. This is for you. And also, my legacy will say that, this person cared about his country, cared about his people, and he cared about Africa on a whole. So that Fela said that in the 80s. Till today, Niger, we haven't had that president. Around the time he said this, Obasanjo was president. He since became president again. And Obasanjo, he reigned over a whole bunch of, you know, military, how will I say, military misdemeanors. And when I say misdemeanors, not misdemeanors, max demeanors. I've made that word up. Max demeanors, big things. You know, he was responsible for Fela's mum getting thrown off the balcony. You know, that's another story which we'll go into. So this was the military at the time. So our leaders since then and at the time were not practicing or preaching Africanism. They were more preaching and practicing nepotism and selfishism. You know, nepotism. I'll bring in my family, my friends. Hey, you guys run this, you guys do this. If anyone talks about us, don't worry, we got it, we're gang, we're clique. Selfishness, me, this is my own, this is my own, this is my own. Meanwhile, you've got someone who is a jewel in your country, Fela. and you're trying to crush the jewel. Meanwhile, there's other people in other countries, America, listening to Fela's music, you know, extolling the virtues of his trumpet playing, his saxophone playing, extolling the virtues of his message. And we are trying to break him down. It's like Bob Marley in Jamaica, it's the same thing, you know. Jamaicans trying to kill Bob Marley. Imagine, when you should be protecting the jewel at all costs. But because you had non-Africanism views, what they were saying was contrary to your views, because it automatically paints you in a view of darkness, or paints you in a bad light, should I say. You know, zombie no go walk unless you tell him to walk. Zombie, yo, zombie. Like Fela used to do all that on stage. Left march, right march. You know, like he was mocking the army. You know, calling them zombies. Zombie no go walk unless you tell him to walk. Zombie won't go unless you tell him to go. You know, he's a zombie, so he's under your command. So obviously they hated this. But really, he was just commenting on what the state of Nigeria and what the state of Africa was. And going back to the second definition of black Africans and their culture predominating Africa, if you look at it once again and you go back to it, it's not necessarily the case. Now you look at Africanisms as maybe quaint old traditions that, you know, were like that were done, like maybe Morris dancing. You know, yeah, we used to do a bit of Morris dancing, and every now and then, you know, in December or whatever, we'll go to the village fete and everybody does a bit of Morris dancing. You know, that's kind of how a lot of Africans look at, you know, whether it's cowries or whether it's, you know, what all the traditions that we used to do. And again, I'm not au fait with all these traditions because I'm westernized. Let's not pretend. I was born in England, you know, I lived in Nigeria, yes, but my outlook is a Western outlook. Yes, I know my culture and so on and so forth, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, oh yeah, man, you know, I know everything about Africa, and all you with your Western ways, you need to be down with the man. No, it's not about that. You know, it is down with the man, but you know, it's not about that. Again, it's about education and educating myself and educating ourselves. So again, you know, this isn't pointing fingers at, you know, Western ways, at Christianity, nothing. It's about Africa. Let's even take talking about the black struggle. It's always the case that people outside of the black struggle always seem to have an opinion, and again, it's not necessarily negative and it's not necessarily positive, but you always have people who go, oh but, you know, as if to say, yeah, no, I see what you're saying, but I'm going to negate that with a but. You know, and it's like, there is no buts. And, or they'll say things that, what about? And I always think, and I said this before, it's not about you, it's about us. It's not about them, it's about us. And that goes for any struggle. You know, if you're a feminist, you know, it's not about the men. It's not about all men are dogs and all men. No, it's about empowering women and letting women understand that, you know, the old societal structures of, yo, stay in the kitchen, lovey, and make sure my dinner's ready. You know, they're no longer. And the people that continue to try and push that narrative, they're seen as dinosaurs, as they should be. You know, but when people continue to push the narrative that, oh, Africanisms are bad or are slightly macabre or slightly in the shadows, so to speak, then everyone's kind of like, oh yeah, sure, why not? Of course, yeah, you're right. And we ourselves as Africans, and that's all of us across the diaspora, whether you're in the West Indies, whether you're in America, whether you're in China, you know, all of us go, yeah, actually, maybe voodoo is bad, or maybe praying to any other deity or entity other than Jesus is a sin, and we're all going to burn in hell. So going back to the first definition, which, you know, a feature of language or culture which is characteristically defined as African. You know, that's an Africanism. It's, I guess, you know, things like eating eba with our hands, things like doing this, you know, long mad, yeah, God forbid, you know, those are Africanisms, you know, Africanisms. I don't know what you know, just so many things. Again, I mentioned the cowries and the bead, like all these little things, you know, drinking out of calabashes and passing them around rather than cups, little things like this. You know, people think Africanisms and they think, oh my God, I've got to wear the shiki and grow an afro and really, you know, put my life on the line. It's not about that. It's just about recognizing little bits of our culture that have been passed, that have dissipated through across time. And hear me, I'm wearing African attire. Or look at the details, you know. So even this is an Africanism, wearing your cultural clothes. And you know, you see uncle, you see auntie, they wear it. They haven't forgotten. You see them on a Sunday, they wear it. Some people are wearing suits, some people are wearing the full. You got the aunties with gilly. That's all our culture, and I love when I see things like that. And me, I don't wear enough of our traditional garments, I guess, unless it's wedding or it's a, you know, something like that. Like even in Christians, I probably wear a suit or things. I say I wear a suit, but you know what I mean. So now it's a thing where I've not got nothing against wearing. I love wearing it. It's just that I've always thought of it as a event thing. Whereas now I'm like, shit, I can wear this day to day. Not this one, it wasn't the best tailored, it's not fitted enough, but I can rejig it. But I can wear this day to day, you know. I can walk down the street in my African attire. Man's of a certain age now, so I'm sure everyone from my family are expecting me to be wearing that brogues and African attire or suit every day. I'm sorry, it's not me, sure. I mean, I still do wear trainers and jeans, but anyway, it's something that we should take more pride in. And again, it's not a thing that I've never been proud. It's just a thing that westernized way of thinking. So now, all of you out there, you got the garments indoors. Feel free, step out, wear a couple bits. You know, let people look at you and go, "Hey, who is this guy?" You know, the people. If you're looking sharp, trust me, the people that know, they know. They will see you, and the people that don't know, they'll be like, "Oh my God, that's a lovely outfit. Where'd you get that?" You know, I don't know why everyone's cockney. Also, we need to eat more of our foods. Pounded yam is life, first of all. Pounded yam and therefore. Some people say pounded yam and egusi. It depends what kind of egusi. If the egusi is the one with the big bits in it, I like it. And red stew. But if it's like the sort of ground down and the stew's already mixed, I like it, but I like it. Same flavour, but it's not what I grew up on. I grew up on red stew, egusi with the big melon seed bits, you get me? That's me. But more than anything, F4 is king. You have meat, you have prawns, you have crayfish, you have stockfish, you have no pomo, no body. Yeah, those that know, you get me? I know shaki, I don't eat any of them things anymore. We'll get to what those things are later, guys. So sorry, the Nigerian in me is just coming out, so there might be bits you don't understand, but don't worry, I'll explain. Just keep in your head shaki. Keep it in your head and we'll talk about it. Maybe when we get to S. Anyway, so back to our Africanism. So, like, you know, we have God of thunder, God of lightning, God of the water, things like this. Like, there's movies, Greek movies about all these things, and everyone's like, hey, go Poseidon. Everyone's like, yeah. No one's talking about our own, you know. So, these are the things that we need to look at. And again, no one's saying that now you need to start going to worship Shango and start, you know, but at the same time, understand about our gods. And again, I believe in one huge power, but I might be totally wrong. You know, Christianity might be wrong. You know, and we're not getting into that, but all religions could be wrong is the point I'm trying to say. Buddhism, Islam, everything could be wrong. So therefore, if that's the case, let's look at everything with an open eye and look at what are the teachings of these religions rather than oh, it's a black religion, it must be evil. Because that's really what they've done. That's what they've done. Anything black, they've written it down as bad. We all know that. Black male, black ball, etc., etc., etc. We know that. So there's no way they're going to give you a black religion that gives you power and gives you purpose and gives you self-belief and say, yeah, run with that. Because why? You wouldn't be able to exert all your force over those people if they kept on to their little traditions. And all those little traditions that were kept by the slaves, and I tried not to mention that word because I'm not trying to go down that route, but were kept, had to be coded. So certain things had to be coded, certain things had to be done under the cover of night, certain things, were not as easy to do. So, when you're having your little ceremonies and, you got the people dancing around and the little face marks, paint and things like that. Things like that had to be done in secret because there were certain people who kept hold of those traditions. And like I said, through time it dissipated, and then you see random communities. There's I think there's Yoruba tribes or Yoruba religion in Jamaica somewhere. I'm sure of that. Definitely in Haiti and places like that. So they kept those Africanisms and they passed them down to their children. Going back to what Fela said, we don't need Marxism, we don't need Leninism, that word, Lenin, good mate of Stalin, we don't need him. What we need is Africanism. For our leaders and the people who are going to lead us forward, the people who are going to understand us and really fight for Africa as a whole, they need to have Africanism at the forefront of their minds. Because otherwise, when it comes to making deals and Africa's getting the short straw, they'll make the deals because they're not thinking of Africa per se. Do you know what I mean? They're thinking of whatever it is that sorts them out or aids them at the time. Again, the prayers, the foods, the rituals, the words, the songs, the dances, the drums. These are all things that we need to tap into more. And I think if we tap more into these Africanisms, we will be more fulfilled because our soul and our spirit and our chakras, I don't know, will be realigned with our origins. That sounded so profound. People will think I'm reading this. This is what comes out of me. So, there's other stuff that comes out of me and it smells and sounds like hit. But but this time, this isn't it. Let's also think of Africanism in a political sense. So if any of you out there are young, budding politicians, the future of Africa, you guys are the future. You have to think with an Africanism mindset. Africa for Africans, what is best for Africa? And everything from there will be the right thing. Sometimes you'll make a misstep, but you'll be thinking Africa for Africans, so you won't let other people come in and take liberties. There won't be deals made where Africa, and by Africa I could mean it's a singular country that's made the deal, but if it's bad for one African country, I can guarantee you it's not good for another African country. So my people, I hope that you've enjoyed this episode. Again, a lot of this segment is going to be about me learning things. I'm going to give you more facts, so it's not going to be just me giving my point of view or me just speaking to you, but I guess as I'm learning, I'll give you more detail, more facts. So I'll say in 1812, so this has been A to Z of Africa. This was the first letter today, A, and we did Africanism. Guys, thank you for watching once again. I appreciate the love. It's been your boy P Fire, aka P didn't start the fire. It was always burning something, something, something. Till next time. Peace, gang.